Hey there, I'm Sully, and as always, welcome into the Gun Club. Alrighty, hope everyone's having a good evening. We're up live. It appears we're live on Rumble and on YouTube. I'll give everyone a moment or so to wander on into the room here and join us. You're gonna have kind of an interesting night tonight. Got a pretty deep topic to cover, and I'm gonna possibly, maybe shock a few people. We'll see how that goes. Had interesting day today. Interesting day. A lot of things going on in the world. Let's see here. All right. Streams live on both. Yes. All righty. Now, if anyone can hear me, we'll see if the system is working. I'm hoping it is. Uh, have to say, I think the opening thought for tonight, a thought for the day, as always, we're just going to pull this one up and start with that for the day. Let's see here. Let's see. How's that? Look about right to you? Yeah, definitely looks about right to me. So we'll go from there. Um, yeah, the word came down about noonish today that Robert Hunter Biden, the one surviving son of our former Vice President Joe Biden, um, was found guilty of the three charges he was facing regarding his firearm purchase, as far as lying on the form, lying to the FFL, and purchasing a firearm while under the influence, so to speak. Now, there's a lot of debate on this in the firearms community, and I'll tell you, I've got very, very mixed emotions on it. Right now with these three convictions, Mr. Biden is facing, well, up to 25 years in jail and a whole ton and a half of fines and everything else. I believe close to $500,000 in fines. Yeah. Now, honestly, do I feel bad for him personally? No. I mean, his track record of being a cockroach and not so sympathetic human being, I could really care one way or the other about Mr. Biden personally. That being said, is the verdict a good thing? Well, first off, do we all know he did it? I mean, we did the stream the other day. If you haven't seen it, you can look back at it. Point blank, did he break the laws in the way as they are written? Yes, he did. No doubt in my mind whatsoever at all. He crossed and transgressed those three lines that are written in the sand. Those laws. Okay. But are those laws good or not? What do you think? Let's look at the other side of the coin. In the post Bruin world, we talk about everything should be based on the text, history, and tradition, and the Constitution, and everything else. Like laws have to be within the Constitution, i.e., constitutional. When I read the Second Amendment, I've got it up on my screen here. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed unless they smoke Parmesan cheese. No, it doesn't say that. It says that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed for any reason. It doesn't say unless you do this or unless you do that or unless we don't like you. In some ways, are we possibly experiencing a little bit of Schadenfreude, a little bit of a, haha, they got him because of what happened in court last week before? What do you think? What other right in the Bill of Rights shall thou be deprived of if you happen to enjoy a little recreational homemade pharmaceutical fun? Well, I don't think any of them personally. So, from that standpoint, why would we deprive you of this right? Why would we take it away based on an arbitrary decision that you're, again, enjoying Parmesan cheese? We can all talk about that. I don't see it. I really, I don't necessarily like the law. Now, we talked in that video about the Daniels case. Daniels had a little bit of recreational oregano on weekends. Now, I'm not a fan of the recreational oregano or the Parmesan cheese get of the carpet or, you know, doing any of that. Not a fan of it at all. Don't do it. Don't believe in it. Not my thing. However, do I believe he should be deprived of his 2A rights? Because he is. Well, not really a good thing there. So that's where we've got. He was convicted of breaking a law. Did he clearly break it? Yes, but is the law a bad law? It's not consistent with the text, history, and tradition of the Constitution, which is what we scream about every time we try to deal with an unconstitutional gun law, every time we try to deal with some stupid assault weapons ban, every time we try to deal with red flag laws. Remember, red flag laws are, well, we think you do XYZ, so you're so dangerous, we'll take away your constitutional rights. Well, we're celebrating it happening. If you're a pure 2A purist, maybe you say, look, I might like this happened and I might get a chuckle out of this happening, but I'm really not a fan of the law being used in this way. Did he do anything illegal with it? Not really. I mean, I guess carrying it with him, if he did carry it with him while he was out chasing crack rock around and out sleeping in a car, high as a kite. Okay. So, yeah, he had it with him, but it's not like he shot anybody. It's not like he did anything directly violent to anybody with it. Did he wave it around at anybody? Did he hold up a liquor store? No. So, yeah, he got convicted. That's all well and wonderful for the mere act of just possessing it. But on the other side of the coin, we're sitting here complaining because our person on our side of the world, Mr. Dexter Taylor, also got convicted just for the mere act of having it. Now, I'm not comparing Dexter to Hunter Biden by any stretch of the imagination. Dexter is an upstanding moral citizen, no, crack rock, no, fathering the child with a stripper that he abandoned. I'm sure Dexter is not like, going after his dead brother's wife or anything like that. I mean, that's not Dexter. But on the other side of the coin, Dexter, for the mere act of possessing certain things, is doing 10 years in prison. So, again, Hunter got convicted, and I know there are some people who cheer it, but we also need to look at the law is bad. Now, can Hunter appeal this? Can he actually get off the hook for this? Possibly. There are a couple of cases going into the Supreme Court, one of which is Rahimi, where a gentleman's previous habits are coming up as far as should his 2A rights be suspended because of those. If, and again, it's the Supreme Court says no, that's not good enough to abridge his 2A rights, that could be used as grounds to appeal this Hunter case, as well as the Fifth Circuit case I cited the other day in Daniels. Could that be used to help appeal his case and overturn the verdict? Possibly. So we'll have to see how it plays out. For now, yes, yay, he got convicted. Okay. They got one of ours, so we got one of theirs. But the law was applied questionably in this case. Now, the law in the other case was a shit show, and I know that, so don't get me started there, but save me that hate. I don't know. I'd love to see. Give me some idea in the chat. What do you think? Good thing, bad thing? Are we happy he got hooked up, or are we sort of saying, well, maybe we didn't need to do that? Any thoughts? What do we got here? Let's see. I see we got 2 or 3 in Rumble, 1 bouncing in and out in YouTube here. I don't know whether the stream's holding in YouTube or what's up. Let's see here. Alrighty. Can anybody hear me out there? I often wonder if I'm talking to myself, talking to the wall in here. But alrighty, on and upwards beyond, Senior Hunter. Okay. Mel's here, and I'm assuming she can hear me. I'm hoping. We'll see. Had a rather interesting adventure last weekend. I went out to the gun range with a friend of mine and their stepdaughter, and it was kind of an interesting adventure, an interesting little road trip. Um, I'll give the backstory on it, and we'll go through it. And that's one of the things that got me a little bit thinking about this whole kids and guns topic. Had something else planned for tonight, a deep dive into something else, but well, between that, between a video I caught the other day from the great Maj Touré, the solutionary, um, just definitely sort of weighing stuff in. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like I said, I'm all for the whole family rotting in jail, but I don't know if this is the hill we want to die on. It's just my thought, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe but again, if you look at anything else in those first 10 amendments, which ones would you take away from someone based on the Parmesan? Yeah, well, fair enough. But again, just because someone is, cracktacular, should we take away their constitutional rights? Hmm. Should we also maybe take away their right to jury of their peers? Should we take away their right to um uh trial? Should we take away their right to, you know, take the Fifth Amendment? How about their right to a church or their right to freedom of speech? Yeah, I know. The slippery slope, folks. And again, these are some of the same things. If you look at it, you know, am I a dangerous extremist? Should my gun rights be taken away? Is this the same kind of stuff they use to push through red flag laws? But okay, so middle of the week last week, I got someone reached out to me. Um, their 18-year-old stepdaughter had expressed interest in buying a firearm. Now, I've got to give you a little bit of the family dynamics here. The 18-year-old stepdaughter, okay, no gem, but basically decent kid. Okay, not exactly a Rhodes Scholar, not exactly an honor roll student, and I don't anticipate her curing cancer or putting life on the moon or working for Elon Musk anytime soon. But otherwise, not a bad child. She had gone to her father and expressed the interest in purchasing a firearm. Now, she lives in South Carolina. South Carolina, you can get your permit to conceal carry 18 and up. Now, dear old dad wasn't exactly happy with the idea of his little baby girl purchasing a pew pew. First of all, he's scared to death of them. Second of all, he's not a gun person, doesn't believe we should have them. You know, he's sort of a little bit on the short bus in my book, but okay. So here's the kid. She's actually wanting to get a pew pew. And she talks to dad about it. Well, dad talks to the stepmother, the wicked evil stepmother. Yeah, we have one of those in this story. And no, she didn't make Cinderella clean the bathroom, but that's beside the point. So we'll call this child Cinderella, went to the stepmother. And well, dad went to the stepmother and said, I can't believe this. My little darling Cinderella wants to buy a pew pew. And dad, you know, was not really happy with it. But stepmother is a member of the 2A community, and she's, you know, proud to have her concealed carry and everything else, and may or may not own a couple of pistols, and said, okay. And immediately said, well, I did my training with Sully, so let me reach out and see what he'll do for her, or if he'll do for her, and everything else. Stepmom asked me, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. You want to go to the range with me and her? You know, now stepmom could have probably taken her on her own, but stepmom wasn't really 100% comfortable. And I think stepmom kind of wanted someone there to be able to, not only make sure things were right and safe and everything else, but if darling Cinderella got a little bit too big for her britches, I think stepmom figured that I would address it more appropriately. Because again, we know safety on the range, everyone's responsibility. Stepmom said, I don't want the responsibility. I want to have Sully there. Cool. 100%. I was like, I'm on board. You, me, her, we'll go to the range. We sat down, we did a safety briefing. She actually had the stepdaughter contact me. We talked about it a little bit. We went to the range over the weekend. Now, overall, kid did really well. Now, not super, not wonderful. We didn't do a formal CWP class or anything like that. It was okay. Yeah, I know you know this much about firing a gun and you did one time at this or that or the other event, wherever. We're going to start here, ground level. We're going to build up skills, functional, and everything else. We can always get into the CWP laws and legals later, but let's start with the 4 rules. Let's start with how this works. Let's get your grips down. Let's do all these things. Child did really well. And it sort of got me thinking, okay, in this setting, you know, dad would have been totally useless to this young lady. Her biological mom, she says is on board. She lives with the biological mom. I don't know. Maybe the biological mom is on board. Maybe the biological mom, maybe we're just being told she is. Not my problem. She's a kid's over 18, so who cares? Stepmom knew someone to get involved, reached out, and did so. Now, the thought process here sort of comes across where here you have a young adult or a child who, probably would not have ever had a gun in the house if her mom and dad had stayed together. Would have had zero exposure, would not have known anything formally about them, but legally could go out and get a permit and carry one with that much training. Okay. Now, while I support that 100%, on the other side of the coin, I think we need to sort of look at the fact, and I'm saying this, and my target audience when I say this is not so much my regulars in the chat, not so much my Pro 2A viewers or anything else. My thing is, I would love for you to share this video out to your non 2A viewers, and I'll tell you why. Sharing it to the people who don't have a gun in the house. John and Marcia, married, have a gaggle of munchkins running around, and John and Marcia both believe that firearms are evil, wrong, bad weapons of war. They would never have a gun in their house. Kind of like my mom. Absolutely, positively not. Ever. They can try to keep the guns out of the kid's life, and they may be able to do it while they're growing up. Maybe. They may be able to do it at least around the house. But at some point, these kids get on their own. They leave the house, whether they're leaving the house because they're 18, 19 years old, or they're leaving the house because they're 15 and they go to their friend's house, or they go to school. We cannot keep firearms totally out of these kids' lives. And the anti-gun, anti-2A crowd is, well, they're believing in unicornia, in my opinion. And when I say unicornia, utopia, whatever you want to say, they're believing that their beliefs at home, that their kids will never, ever, ever touch a gun. Yeah, it's about good till the kid's 100 yards from the house at their buddy's house, and their buddy's parents have 5. It's about as true if they go to the local elementary school and a kid has brought one in from home for show and tell, or until they find one in the trash can that maybe Hunter Biden's girlfriend chucked in there, or until they come across one somewhere in the world. Fact, there are more guns in the United States than there are human beings. If you think they will never meet a firearm in their life, I think we're sadly mistaken. Now, ideally, my thing is, while these kids are growing up, we teach them the fundamentals. So, okay, you love guns, you've got a bunch in the house, you store them safely, you train your kids on them. Your kids all know the rules, they've all been to the range, they all know how to safely handle them. Hey, more power to you. Thank you. I'm worried about the kids who parents won't talk to them about guns. Parents, It's about as short-sighted as a parent saying, "Well, I don't want my kid to ever experiment with drugs, so I'm never gonna talk to them anything about drugs." And, the parents who sit there and say, "My kids are never gonna do anything or experiment in any way with, any kind of weird, sex stuff." Yeah. So we're never gonna talk to them about it. And, we always talked about a lot of people when they were talking about, bringing more, education in school, shall we say, of, the biological nature about how to use protection and things like that. Why? Because it was possibly preventing, you know, teens from becoming, knocked up. Hmm. On the other side of the coin, let's apply that same concept, and I know the school districts won't. They're so anti-gun, they refuse to talk about it. So their refusal to talk about it has led us to a generation of kids or more that are totally ignorant about these things. Now, if kids have to learn about how to use protection to prevent diseases and use protection to prevent unwanted episodes of belly swell and jelly, huh? If they learn all about that to prevent it, why are the schools not teaching them firearm safety? Now, I've got a good friend, dear, dear friend, absolutely love her, think the world of her. She's state recognized, nationally recognized fire life safety educator. She travels all over the place talking about stop, drop, and roll and swapping out batteries and smoke detectors and exit drills in the home and emergency preparedness in the home and what to do and stay low out of the smoke and crawl. There is so much fire safety stuff taught in schools. I mean, it seems like every October we've got big red trucks doing stop, drop, and roll, handing out little plastic helmets and doing this all the schools. And that is great and that's wonderful. But imagine if we could start teaching these kids with the same regularity, the same mentality about guns, how to handle, how not to handle, the dangers of what to do, what not to do. Now, I'm not talking that we're going to teach kindergarten and first grade, keep your finger off the trigger until you're on target and ready to shoot. No. But how about we start in the kindergarten, first, second, maybe up to sixth grade or so with the four rules of guns for kids? Do y'all remember those? What to do if you see a gun? Stop, don't touch, run away, find an adult. Kids aren't taught that. So what happens? Little Johnny or little Susie decides to bring something really cool for show and tell. And it just happens to be that bright, shiny revolver they found in mom's purse or in the shoebox on the top of dad's closet or again at the schoolyard dumpster that uh, got a gun thrown in it or something they found when they were out in the woods, wherever. These kids, they come up with them, they find them, and we hear more and more stories in the young group. They're not bringing it because they have any malice, or the vast majority don't. The vast majority don't even know how to make it shoot. The vast majority at that age, if you handed them a semi-auto and said, "Do you know how to put one in the chamber?" wouldn't know how to, or wouldn't even have the physical strength to rack a slide. But the thing is, they don't know anything about it. They don't know the risk because their parents have not told them about it. Or even if they do, they bring it to school, it's in their backpack, and then they know they shouldn't have it. So what do? Over in the corner of the classroom, they show it to their buddy. And then one of their buddies goes, "Oh, it's not real. It's not real." "Yeah, it is." "Oh, yeah. Can I hold it? Can I hold it?" And before you know, guess what? You've got somebody who has no clue what they're doing handling a loaded you know what. But the kids are not taught about it. We don't teach them gun safety. We don't teach them how to get through this stuff. We don't teach them anything about it. And what has happened? Well, it was interesting. They had a 2021 study I pulled talking about firearm deaths for the under 18 crowd. Now, I'm not using that crazy Michigan study that says, oh, yeah, if your firearms is the leading cause of death. No, that's garbage, and we know that. But kids under 18, 60% were homicide, 32% were self inflicted, 5% were accidents, and 3% were some version of other. Now, homicide would be an intentional taking of a life. Okay. The self inflicted stuff, I'm thinking that's kind of the older children. I'm hoping, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm hoping we don't have the 10, 11-year-olds deciding to cash in their birth certificates. But that 5% of the accidents, if we could address that 5% of the accidents, what would that do? How many lives would that save? I'm willing to say that if we can get the 5% of accidental shootings in that age group, we could actually cut it back and save more lives than the total number of kids shot in school shootings in the last 3 years. But are we teaching them about it? Let's face it, we teach them about not to drink things with the Mr. Yuck symbol on it. We teach them about not drinking things with the skull and crossbones on it. We talk to them about making sure if you're going to ride your bike, you make sure you wear a helmet. You know, but when they leave the house and they go out into the world, what can they find? Can they find a gun? Yes. Can they find it at a friend's house? Can a friend's, you know, friend brought it back from wherever they found it? An older brother has it. You know, they're staying there, and hey, you want to see something really cool? Look what I found in Dad's sock drawer. And what is it? Well, it's loaded semi-auto, folks. It is what it is. Yeah, throwback, definitely. Thank you. I enjoy trying to do my throwbacks to Mr. Yockers. Yeah, we got to give him a shout out here. But again, in the big scope of things, gun safety and firearm safety education, because of the political climate, is not taught, not talked about, and does not count. We've got to work to change that, whether it's changed at the school level addressing it, or whether we as the 2A community can talk to our not so 2A friendly friends and say, look, I know you don't want anything to do with guns in your house. I know you think I'm an evil, mean maniac for having my guns, but you know what? You've got kids. And whether you love or hate guns or whatever else, if one of your kids happens to stumble on a gun sometime, I would love for them to know what to do so they don't end up in that 5% statistic. 5 to 8% statistic of oopses. Yeah. Can we stop kids from committing murder? Look, I'd love to. There's a social issue and a societal issue that far beyond anything we can solve today. As far as the self-harm issue, again, the mental health issues in this country far beyond anything that you or I would be capable of addressing. But can we as a 2A community push not only ourselves to personally do it, think of your most anti-gun friend and don't approach them with your kids need to know about this, that, and the other. Say, look, I understand you don't want them. I understand you hate guns. I respect every bit of that. But heaven forbid your kid is in school one day and one of their friends has one in a backpack and they're all fascinated by it and they're all playing looky loo because he brought it in for show and tell. He knew he couldn't let the teacher see it, so he'd be in trouble. And so, you know what? They're all in the back of the classroom while the teacher was distracted. And what are they looking in that backpack? I mean, we've seen stuff brought to school. I know I had a friend of mine who was a middle school teacher. One of the kids in her class brought dad's snake to school. Now, the snake, fortunately, was not a biting, venomous. Well, I guess he did bite, but he was not a venomous snake. He was actually like a boa constrictor of some sort. And he had the snake zipped up in the pocket of his book bag. Yeah. Brought it for show and tell. Thought it was really cool. The teacher realized that the book bag was moving. Asked what he had in his book bag. Nothing. He knew he was in trouble. He thought it was a great idea at that moment. Kids are impulsive. He grabbed it, threw it in the book bag, brought it to school, and then realized I'm probably going to get in trouble for doing this. Dad's going to kill me. Okay, well, I'll just like keep my mouth shut till the end of the day and bring it home. Well, some snake was moving around. You know, fortunately, they found the snake in time, and he didn't get too cold because they kind of like warmer environments. And I would assure the floor of a classroom not be a really good thing for Red the red-tailed boa. But yeah, kids bring stupid stuff to school. Kids do stupid stuff, and yeah, they want to protect their family, their kids from guns. That's great. They're in denial that they exist, and as a result of that denial, what happens? Well, it breeds that curiosity. It breeds that, you know, hey, I've got a gun. I'll bring it to school for show and tell. Everyone will think, oh, cool. Most of the kids in that K-6, you know, K to 8, they're not bringing it to school because they're, you know, trying to be Billy Joe Badass. No, they're bringing it to school because it's a cool thing. It's a novelty. Yeah. Their friend comes over after, a ball game on Saturday or whatever. Hey, check out what I found. Yeah, look what I found in my dad's closet. Look what I found in my mom's nightstand drawer. Yeah. But pretty soon, you've got two youngsters sitting around fascinated by this piece of equipment. And if they don't know enough to get the hell away from it, they're just waiting for the accident to happen. So again, I'm not talking so much to the 2A community as I am the not so 2A community. So those of y'all with 2A, you got to share this out to your anti-gun friends. But folks, here's the deal. If they don't know anything about it, and we teach them don't play with matches. We don't teach them don't hold the gun and see what it feels like. Is it real? Well, I bet it's not real. Is it loaded? I don't know. Is it loaded? I don't know. Well, let's pull the trigger and see what happens. How many accidents do we see where young lives are being ended senselessly? And the thing is, a lot of times I go back to when I was in middle school or junior high school, where I was. We had a riflery team. We learned about firearms as part of our PE. We went down to the rifle range when they were getting ready to start up the riflery team as going into the winter. All the PE classes, the boys and the girls, went down. We did a tour of the rifle range. We learned a bunch of rules of the rifle range. And we were told if we wanted to get on the school riflery club or riflery team, whatever, we had to take this permission slip home and give mom and dad to sign off on it. Now, I, at the time, was interested, but was more interested in football and hockey, so whatever. But if, kids aren't learning about firearms, and if we're just going to deny they exist and close our, eyes to them, they'll find them one day, or the firearm will find them, and they'll know nothing. And again, I'm not talking know the 4 big rules. Learn the kids' rules. Learn them like stop, drop, and roll. Stop. Don't touch. Go away. Tell an adult. And someone said, well, why go away? Because even if your kid doesn't touch, chances are if there's a group of kids there, one of them will want to pick that thing up and play with it. The further your kid is from that point, when it happens, I don't say if, but when it happens, the less chance they have of being hit by a stray round. Yeah. Again, just going through this, I think it's been kind of an interesting week. So, what do y'all think we see here? Y'all quiet tonight. Let's see here. I'm actually debating going over and doing a quick Rumble swap because I do have an interesting video here. A couple of them actually. Um, there was a case that sort of came across my desk this week out of Maine. The Maine Gun Safety Coalition was overseeing a gun give back buyback event, and one of their volunteers picked up a firearm and had a negligent discharge. Yeah. Fortunately, it was pointed in a safe direction, so nobody got hit. But yeah, found his truck, two unoccupied vehicles in the parking lot. Oops. So, yeah, one of the volunteers picking up guns for a buyback. Oops. I guess their finger hit the bang switch. Yeah, well, um, Mel, I'm definitely, I know, on the serious side tonight. I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna do the Rumble flip. And the reason I am, quite frankly, well, I've got a video here, and when you see the video, you'll kind of understand where I'm going. So let's see if I can make this happen. I know how to do it on other software, just not quite sure how to do it on this software. So let's see what I can do here. Folks, I'm all for YouTube and I love YouTube and everything, and I'm not trying to be mean, but there's some of the stuff we're about to talk about that they don't really want me doing here. And that's fine. I respect it. It's their world. I'll play by their laws. So we're going to rock over to Rumble and see what we can get into.